Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is July the 31st, 2020. Strong hand, long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Buy and hold. Unconfiscatable. Conviction. Be a unique beast. I've got a lot of unique beasts here. Offended by selling. Personal responsibility is new counterculture. All right. We got some dudes with some personal responsibility. Neil Woodfine's in the house. Alex Svetsky's in the house. Phil Geiger is in the house. They're all back. They're all over the freaking world. So we're going to give you quite an international perspective today, actually. So let's start in the United States, though, with the United States dollar and what's been going on, because the dollar has not had a fun week, and that kind of spills into everything that we'll be talking about today and plays a big role in Bitcoin. Goldman Sachs boosts gold price target and says that the United States dollar's reserve status is at risk. Okay. That's the second part of that statement is tremendous. The United States dollar's reserve status is at risk. I don't agree with that. I think the dollar's not doing so well, but it's the best of the worst of the fiats out there. What's going on, Phil, with this?
Well, I think it's been pretty tough for the dollar for the last decade because it lost its reserve currency status in 2009, and it's just been taking a beating since then. It hasn't even remotely recovered ever since Bitcoin started to monetize. And what we're seeing, over the course of the last week is just a trend of what we've seen over the last decade. So nothing really surprising to me. What's really surprising to me is when the US dollar kind of somehow pumps a little bit or just like claws back a little bit of the value it's lost. But, we're just continuing to see that downtrend. So yeah, no surprises here.
All right. But I mean, in that statement, World Reserve, you yourself, you feel that Bitcoin has surpassed it already. Is Goldman actually buying, is Goldman actually buying Bitcoin, do you think?
It's hard to say if Goldman as like a company has been buying Bitcoin, but we know that almost certainly many employees at Goldman have been buying Bitcoin. And that's, I think, ultimately what really matters is this is a grassroots effort. And so if you see people like individuals buying Bitcoin, they're going to be going around telling their bosses and coworkers, yeah, I got into this Bitcoin thing. And then their bosses and coworkers get into it. They start telling their friends and family. So, we already know that at all of these large banks and at the highest levels of government, we have Bitcoiners. So it's just kind of a matter of time. I don't think there's really going to be an official, nobody's going to come out and say like Bitcoin's now the official global reserve currency. So we can just kind of make that decision on our own. So it's my global reserve currency, but I can't speak for everyone.
It's obviously the world reserve cryptocurrency. That cannot be denied. 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. But I want to go to the first part of their statement. They were willing to mention gold. Goldman Sachs boost the gold price target, which makes sense. I mean, they're basically saying they believe in the U.S. dollar is being inflated away. They didn't say anything about Bitcoin there. Will there be a day? Will there be a day where they boost? They make a public relations announcement, a press release about a Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, I think the last press release I saw from Goldman about Bitcoin was something that it's like a presentation that they had authored, I think, in 2013 or 2014, and then gave like a couple months ago. So it just contained all of this FUD and misinformation that as Bitcoiners, we can just very quickly recognize is not true. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think they're just they're a leader in the legacy financial system, and they're just pretty far behind at this point in this new financial system that we're living in.
Okay, and a question, since you're an American, what's your prediction for the next check that we will be getting from the government? Now practices MMT, apparently. Will it be $1,200, $2,000? What's your prediction?
Well, whatever it is, it's going to be a lot less Bitcoin than I got last time. So,
oh, baby. All right. That is true. That is very, very true. Pound that like. But all right, we'll go to Alex, an expert in Australia. Who knows where the heck Alex is right now? But if the United States dollar, I mean, do you agree with Goldman Sachs that the United States dollar is at risk of losing its world reserve currency status? And what could take its place? Do you believe Bitcoin will become the world reserve currency recognized by all in this decade? Alex.
I mean, this decade's questionable on a long enough time frame, obviously. Not going to be anything else. I can that much. It's not going to be the commie coin from China. It ain't the kangaroo coin in Australia. It ain't going to be the plus coin in Europe. So it's going to be none of these things. So it's like the US dollar is still orders of magnitude better than the others. So I don't see the US dollar going anywhere. It's not going to be replaced as a reserve currency. That's just like a clickbait article, man. Like it's, and kind of like what Phil said, it's like, there's Bitcoiners everywhere. It always reminds me, the whole thing about, Bitcoiners in government, Bitcoiners in banks. It reminds me of Fight Club. It's like, we walk around and we're like, what's up? We've infiltrated like every layer of society, and there's Bitcoiners hanging around and lurking in all of these places that you just wouldn't expect. And I love that. That's how how grassroots organic movement actually happens. It's not going to happen by decree, but by definition, Bitcoin is something that stands against the decree of institution. And that for me is why I love it. Is it's we individually choose it as the reserve currency that we use, again echoing what Phil said, as opposed to somebody announcing that it's the reserve currency, and of all people announcing it, it's a vanguard of the old world, like Goldman, with some stupid clickbait article, like whatever, they're just talking. That's all they do, and no one cares except for the idiots who decide to listen. So that's
wow. So do you have any thoughts on gold? Because they were trying to pump gold in that press release, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's gonna pump because boomers still have money. But good luck to them. Like they'll cheer about their 2% gains while we're sitting here, sucking up the rest of the value, and at some point they'll catch up. But like, here's the thing, like, I hope gold pumps a little bit as well, and I'm sure it will. And someone is going to need to move the price of Bitcoin from 1 million to 10 million, and it's going to be all these gold bugs who came in late. Like that's what I always say. Like when I hear people say, "Oh, tell me why I should buy Bitcoin," my answer on Twitter, and most people know me for this, is like, don't buy Bitcoin, please. Stay away. Buy your stonks, buy your gold, buy your real estate, buy everything else. Don't buy Bitcoin. Just stay away. I want more time to acquire this thing, because these clowns need to come in later and buy it. And all the boomers can dump all their money in gold. They can have their little yellow shiny rocks. And when they trust Bitcoin enough, they can come and move the price to the next order of magnitude up. So yeah, I no longer care about there's a beautiful thing that I reinstated in my life recently, which is don't cast pearls before swine. And I no longer care. Like if someone doesn't want to listen, I just tell them the opposite. I tell them what they want to hear, and I do my thing.
Dude, I love what you said. We're all in the Fight Club. We're all winking to each other. We know when we see each other in the street. We know all my elite friends out there. We're all in the Fight Club. Pound that like button. If you've got questions, you can do a super chat, people, or you can type in BitcoinMeister. BitcoinMeister. I don't even know my name anymore. All right, Neil. I know your name. I know you're in the Fight Club. What's your take on United States dollar, MMT, $2,000 checks, loss of the world reserve currency, and Goldman Sachs? What do you have to say?
So I was kind of glad that they came out with that article because I've got quite a few friends who are kind of sometimes, some of them part-time Bitcoiners, some of them not, that have been talking about how all of the macro developments are good news for the US dollar and how that like we'll probably see a global consolidation towards the US dollar and away from the global fiat. But that didn't really sit well with me because I think all of the fiat currencies are going to see a lot of inflation. In particular, I mean, that was already, we knew a financial crisis was on the horizon, but now we've just had the crazy lockdowns, which we talked about last time, and that's going to lead to even more like insane monetary stimulus, which is going to kill every single fiat. So, like Phil said, the US dollar is the best of the fiats, right? But like if they're all really, really, they're not good, then yeah, I would not want to be holding any of them. So like I can see why the US dollar would be a concern for global reserve currency. But then at the same time, I think we have to like bear in mind that I don't want to discount Goldman Sachs. I think they probably have some very intelligent people at the top that are pulling some pretty important global strings. And an announcement like that doesn't get, like an announcement like that has to go through a lot of compliance before they can actually make it. So they're making a statement, they have a goal in mind. And I think like everybody has to like bear in mind that the goal of that is to manipulate the market, manipulate people, manipulate something for their own ends. So yeah, I think like everything is good news for Bitcoin. It's good to kind of get like into the popular mind that like fiat currencies are possibly not going to be around forever. Yeah.
So you're not one to say that the United States will lose its global reserve currency status. What would take its place? I mean, do you think it will lose its status?
I mean, eventually, ultimately, like the US dollar is doomed the same way that all the other fiat currencies are doomed.
But then what takes its place? Then will Bitcoin take its place?
I'm not willing to write off gold yet. I think gold has a lot of advantages over Bitcoin, despite what everybody says. It also has better kind of historical precedent, and it's easier for people to move to it. Also, I think from a government's perspective, it's a lot easier for them to manipulate and centralize. So states are going to have a preference for gold because they can restart all of their Ponzi schemes if they move to a gold standard rather than the Bitcoin standard. And we've seen like how quickly everybody follows whatever tune that they're playing with the lockdowns. So like, I'm not willing to write it off just yet.
That's a very interesting point about returning to the gold standard, because it's something that could be manipulated and controlled by governments, and thus it would be something they prefer. Bitcoin cannot be controlled at all. So I mean, I don't think Bitcoin will really ever become the world reserve currency. I think they're stuck. I think we're stuck on the dollar, and that's fine. I don't care, and we don't have to play that game. We don't have to. I think that's what we're all getting at here. We should all opt out, do our own thing. Don't be part of the herd, because the herd will always be manipulated, and just listen to what those leaders tell them to do. All right, but before we move on, do you guys have anything else to say about this topic, Alex or Phil?
I just have a question for the group. If gold does, if we do return to a gold standard, are you guys going to convert your Bitcoin into gold?
Yes, some of it.
Some of it?
I'll need it. Yeah, I would need it to like spend on things. But I think it's good to diversify. But
so I'm
not going to sell all of my Bitcoin.
You'll convert 60% of your Bitcoin? 80?
That's a very personal question. I would definitely liquidate some.
Wow! You would go for some gold. I think I know what Alex is going to say, but I'll let Alex say it.
Yeah, less than 1% of it. Like, assuming we went to a gold standard, that's a big question. I mean, I'd still much rather carry my seed in my head than my gold up my bumhole. So
I mean, seriously, that's
Or
where you'd
stick
have
with
to
the
put it when you're traveling. I mean, that's where you would have to put it
Yeah.
when traveling. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, this is not a joke. I mean, so I mean, that is a very interesting question, though, Phil. That if, and that is a huge if that for some reason that became the world reserve currency, would some Bitcoiners turn some of their Bitcoin into gold? It's a good question. I haven't heard that yet. You get this. You get best guess in the freaking space here. You never know.
I mean, I think that's kind of the big question that we have to ask about any potential new currency is, as a Bitcoiner, are you going to convert your Bitcoin into whatever new currency you're told to use? Like, I think the answer for the most part is no, and maybe Neil is a counterpoint here, but you know, I will certainly be buying some gold with my Bitcoin, but pretty much just to use as decoration around my house, not as like a currency or you know, store of value.
Well, I don't think it's going to get to. I don't think it's going to get to a return to the gold standard. The way things are going with, you know, my $2,000 check on the way or whatever is in MMT land. We're on the road. We are definitely on that path to MMT. It appears, which is I would say is the opposite of gold. MMT is a very easy answer, and today people want mindless, easy answers. So there you go. I think that's what we're sticking with now. We have had an interesting week. I don't usually like to talk about specific prices. Oh, yes. Someone said something.
I was going to add one more thing there.
Please.
Yeah, I was going to add one more thing in there.
Yes, add it.
This idea of like, if we did go back to a gold standard, I would, yeah, I think actually my answer, Phil, I'm going to change my answer. I'll actually stay at 0%, because I think if anything, that would just be an intermittent scam, and kind of like agreeing with Neil in the sense that, you know, if we go back there, it'd be for the purpose of being able to start another Ponzi. So I just don't think anything's like, in my mind, Bitcoin's already won. It's done. It's a done deal. Like there's nothing that any amount of support from the state can do for gold, or for anything else for that matter, that would entice me to want to use it over anything else. So yeah, I think it'd just be a show and a farce, and I think it'd just be statist shenanigans. So I'm going to stick with 100% Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think Stefan Livera had a pretty funny tweet the other day, and it was about this idea of returning to a gold standard, and he just said it's unrealistic. And then I responded like, yeah, after the US dollar, it doesn't make sense for us to go back to the US dollar, because that's ultimately what the gold standard was. It got us to the US dollar, got us to fiat currencies, due to its failures of you know, a couple of the monetary properties.
Why repeat the same mistakes? Well, we do repeat the same mistakes.
Yeah. Many will, not us though.
Yeah. Now we had a wacky week here for all the fiat freaks out there. They're going crazy because we entered the $11,000 realm. Now, clearly, after just talking about money printing for a while, some of this clearly has to do with money printing and the lack of faith in the United States dollar. That's definitely part of it. That's definitely part of the reason we had some pumpage. But I wanted to see if anybody else had any other ideas, because there have been other ideas floating out there about perhaps why there was some why Bitcoin is worth more today in terms of fiat, in terms of United States dollars, than it was last week by quite a bit. So, Neil, do you have any theories?
I mean, I would just say this is Bitcoin doing what Bitcoin does, and we're past the halvening. There's a lot of monetary stimulus going on around the world, so it just seems inevitable that the price goes up. Like, everybody's been expecting one post-halvening. It's happening. Like, not surprised at all. More and more people are learning about Bitcoin, seeing its value, especially as kind of the money printers are getting accelerating their printing. So yeah, I mean, it's just a natural progression of increasing demand to a limited supply.
Dude, it's all part of the halving cycle. That's what some people have been saying too. It was only a matter of time. Oh, is 2021 going to be sweet? Pound that like button. But let's ask Phil his take on this. Are some of these Ethereum pumpers taking some profits into Bitcoin? What do you see going on?
Sure. Well, I think in the short term, what we're seeing is that no, the halvening was not priced in. But in the longer term, like your kind of macro view, what we can say is Bitcoin isn't priced in. So all of these price increases measured in US dollars, I think, are pretty much what all of us expect, and it's why Bitcoin, or one of the reasons why Bitcoin is so interesting to us. What they're doing over there in Ethereum is kind of recreating the current financial system, but with a little bit more added complexity. So it's just not particularly interesting to me. I think they, it's just like the legacy financial system. The currency that they're using to denominate their gains is the US dollar, but the US dollar is losing value measured in Bitcoin. So the savvy DeFiers, or whatever they're called, are taking their gains in Bitcoin. What I do kind of like about it is that ultimately it feels like it's built to just collapse, because when Bitcoin starts really pumping and just going up a couple, 20% or whatever over the last month, isn't really a true Bitcoin movement, right? We see when Bitcoin really starts ripping, it's like 1,000% or something. But if or when we see that again, what's kind of funny to me about DeFi is that whole system is just going to deflate, and all of that liquidity is going to go back into Bitcoin.
All right. You kind of answered my next question. What's next for Bitcoin? You gave some predictions right there, Phil. So I guess I'll leave it at that. I mean, are we for the rest of the year? Are we going to see similar moves, or are we going to wait till 2021 to get real extreme?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah. Sure.
I can't predict the weather. I think at some point in time in the future, we will certainly see another movement like we have seen over the last 12 years. But that's just because I believe that Bitcoin is ultimately on the path to becoming the currency that the entire world uses and denominates their wealth in, or prices things in. So in order to get there, we have to see a lot more pumps from where we are today. So yeah, at some point, I think in the near term, or midterm, it's going to start going again. I would say, maybe the end of the year, maybe 2021. But with all the money printing going on, it's hard to know when, because the dollar's value is just all over the place these days.
All right, Alex, any thoughts on why we had this pump this week, or anything pertaining to that?
Yeah, just I think pent up pressure. I mean, any time something like this that's got a restricted supply is sideways for a while, it really doesn't take much for it to like move a little bit, and then that's a cascading effect. So it'll jump a little, and then human psychology, 101 is that the sheep follow the shepherd, and off we go, chasing something. And it's the same thing on the way up and the same thing on the way down. And like I can't remember who said it, but it's like Bitcoin's designed to pump forever. Whose quote was that? Does anyone remember?
It's like I read it somewhere. Said
is it Odell or?
It sounds like a Bitstein or Pierre Rochard quote to me.
Yeah, what the guys? Anyway, so it's like it's literally you fix the supply of something, man. Like, what do you think is going to happen? So, like, this is, the thing's been, constrained or trading, I guess, in a relatively constrained price range for how long now? A few months, whilst the world's gone completely mental. Things are burning down. Stonks are through the roof. The money printers are on full ball. Everyone's canceling each other. Like, it's complete chaos, and this is the only thing that's sort of like doing its thing. The whole TikTok next block, yada yada yada. So it was bound to pump at some point. I was just sitting there, doing the rain dance, hoping that it wouldn't pump. So I'm like, trying to DCA here, and the son of a bitch got more expensive. So and then to Phil's point with Ethereum being more like the existing financial system. I mean, I did a whole video on that. So I started like this little channel called Wake Up, and I've been sort of talking about these things. And I made a video called crypto is a scam. And to me, the whole crypto infrastructure, like the whole Ethereum is probably like the flagship of what this whole crypto, what I like to call crapto stuff represents, which is it is far more akin or far more similar to the existing legacy financial system than it is to Bitcoin. And unfortunately, crypto and Bitcoin get lumped together, and the existing legacy financial system is sort of like, what they're up against. But it's not the case. Crypto is far more like the legacy financial system, only a more psychopathic, fragile version that has less checks and balances, that's completely programmatic and prone to failure. Unlike at least the existing financial system has at least some checks and balances. It's got some wetware in the middle that can potentially circuit break a complete catastrophe. But they're both run by dictators. They're both run by a small group. Like there's nothing different about crypto and the legacy financial system, which is why I think like Bitcoin stands against everything that the shitcoiners and the altcoiners and the crypto, currency enthusiasts and whatever the hell else they're calling themselves these days represent. And DeFi is just the next progression in a line of stupidity of people chasing, the next Ponzi or the next high or the next, the next get rich quick scheme. It's literally just the same thing over and over again. Like I had absolutely no idea what was going on DeFi until people, recently, like someone said the Ethereum price went up. I was like, oh, really? I couldn't care less anymore. Like I'm more interested in the blade of grass that's growing in the park. Like it literally doesn't matter to me. I'll tie this point off with one final thing is Bitcoin has an impact on the world because it helps to change the base incentives via which people operate in a society. It adjusts things like time preference. It incentivizes different behavior. Whereas crypto and DeFi and Ethereum and all that junk doesn't change the way human beings behave in society today. In fact, it just accelerates the stupidity that we are all fundamentally against with the essence of what Bitcoin is. And that's why I have absolutely no interest. Like it burns me when people try and sit there and position Bitcoin as something that is similar to to the junk that crypto is. So anyway, I have absolutely no time and patience for that stuff.
Well, you made a very interesting point you said the Ethereum ecosystem kind of resembles the traditional ecosystem of finance, which a lot of people don't want to be in anymore. But there are plenty of people who do. They do want their piece of traditional finance. So they will find the DeFi aspects of Ethereum very interesting. And I'll be able to get interest on my locked up Ethereum here. And so for me, I pay attention because I think it's going to bring a lot of money into the space. And some of that money will end up in Bitcoin. Not everybody finds out about Bitcoin straight up. There are many detours on the road to $1 trillion Bitcoin market cap. Pound that like button. Everybody check out all these dudes' links below, by the way. All right, I got to have Neil have his say on Ethereum ecosystem since we kind of went down that road some. And the DeFi pumpage.
I mean, like Alex says, I totally ignore it these days. I ran a Bitcoin only meetup in Beijing and run a Bitcoin only meetup in Chiang Mai now. We don't get many visitors, but we get a few. The people that do come are high quality. I just stopped paying attention. Back in 2014, 2015, spent a lot of time kind of arguing with people in real life and on the internet about all these stupid shitcoins, researching them. I kind of enjoyed at the time working out why they were stupid and why they couldn't work. But then later I started to realize that it's just a gigantic waste of time. And like right now, maybe DeFi works. I don't know. I haven't actually looked into it whatsoever. I've got a very, very strong suspicion that it doesn't work whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna avoid engaging with those people on any condition possible.
It probably will very much resemble the ICO boom of 2017. People just getting into whatever's the flavor of the month, whatever's
it's all exactly the same people. It's exactly the same people. I mean, so you know for a start that like these people cannot be trusted. They're not very good at reasoning. They're not logical. Yeah, just stay the hell away. To be honest, there was one person that came to our Bitcoin only meetup the other day, and they were kind of complaining about how Bitcoin doesn't have any projects where they can get risk-free interest. Which is like, that doesn't exist. You can't get risk-free interest. Like, sorry, like Bitcoin can't offer it, neither can DeFi.
Well, I will say definitely DeFi will be bigger than the ICO thing also, because everything's bigger now in 2021 than in 2017. I will say about risk-free interest, no, there's a type of interest we all get. We, as Bitcoin holders, what do we get? When the forks come, that's pretty risk-free. Those crypto dividends, baby. When bad actors want to make their anti-Bitcoin coins and we get them, hey, that's I mean, the only risk there is in claiming them. Perhaps that's where you can point to, but you're not giving away your precious Bitcoin in order to get the interest of the crypto dividend there. But yeah, when you sign up with something and you give away your private key or whatever, that's pretty risky right there, dudes. All right, so we talked about. I knew I had hardcore Bitcoiners on, so we were going to get some. We weren't going to get anybody speaking any praising of Ethereum there. So we're going to leave Ethereum behind here. Does anyone else have anything to say about it before we leave it behind? Phil, did you have something more to say?
I just think like the whole crypto strategy is to just be a denial of service attack on your attention. So it's like, every day there's just new coins that are just released, and you can try and pay attention to it, or you can stack sats and then go and ride your bicycle.
Denial of service attack on your attention. Nice. Wait, someone's about to say
something. It's a really good frame. That's a really good frame. Like for me, like personally, like I did another, that reminds me of a tweet that I said the other day. It's like, I almost take offense these days when people call me open-minded. Like, why aren't you open-minded? And like, I think in back in the day, when there was a scarcity of information, you needed to be out there searching for. These days, we don't have a scarcity of information. Now we have an abundance, and now it's about actually finding, identifying the things that you value, and then becoming focused enough to sift through the crap and realize what actually aligns with those values. And that's one of the things that is so interesting about Bitcoin to me, is that there's a whole community of people who have been open-minded enough to find that which aligns with their values, and then focus in on what matters. And for me, like, I'm interested in something that's going to have an impact on the world. I'm interested in a 0 to 1 moment. I'm interested in something that's going to transform the way people behave. Crypto and crapto and none of that does that. That it's literally a perpetuation of the status quo. There's nothing innovative to me about that. Bitcoin I find extremely complete 0 to 1. It's a reinvention of how we could operate at a broader scale, and that's what I find really, really, really interesting. And it baffles me when I hear people say, that's not interesting. I'm like, are you serious? Like, what crack are you on? Like, what are you smoking to think that there's nothing interesting about transforming the way human beings behave? Like, holy crap. So anyway,
dude, most people are not long-term thinkers or savers. They want some instant gratification. They are not deep thinkers like you are there. I mean, they don't care about changing. They don't have thoughts like that. They're gamblers, man. They want the next hot hit.
But that's a function of the broken system, and that's why I think crypto is so stupid, is that it just perpetuates that same blind chase for yield, which is such a insecure place to come from. Like it's literally people chasing, like, cucks and betas chase. Like that's what they do. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. Like I'm here to create. So anyway, I just don't associate with those monkeys anymore.
Whoa, dude, man, you sound like the dude. I don't know if you watch this guy's videos. His name is Human. He's also an Australian. I think I recommend. He doesn't talk about Bitcoin, but he talks about stuff. Anyway, some people listening will probably notice the similarities. That's good stuff.
Never heard of him.
Oh, he's
Heard of him.
good. He's good. He sounded just like you did just now. All right. Okay. So I love when betas get brought up on the show. Pound that like button. All right. I do want to say, in terms of people chasing the yield and everything, and I got a message from someone I met on a plane like a year ago, just out of the blue. And I think this is bullish, everyone. What do you know about tokenizing real estate? When you get that message from some dude you only met once, like a year ago, you know that we're probably about to hit a lot of new money is probably going to roll in here somewhere or another. Okay, so let's talk about the ledger issue, because this is important. Phil, you probably have heard about this, correct? That you buy your Ledger Nano and they get your email address. Who knows what other type? They've got your data. They had a data breach. They lost 1 million email addresses of customers. And clearly, I would assume that everyone's email address that was stolen, they will soon get a email from a fake ledger company asking for their private key, asking for who knows what, recovery seed, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have thoughts on this, Phil?
I think so. Yeah, it's a tough situation for the Ledger team. Like many companies collect email addresses, and it's almost certain that most of our personal or financial information has already been leaked. Like, here in the U.S., we had the Equifax hack like a couple of years ago. Like that was a third of the U.S. population with their phone, their home address, and their financial information. The privacy and anonymity on the internet is so bad right now that I think honestly the best strategy is to just operate under the assumption that you're already totally compromised. There's steps that you can take to increase your security. When it comes to Bitcoin, like the best thing that you can do, in my opinion, is use multi-signature to secure your Bitcoin that you're not planning on spending. This way, you're not relying on a single hardware wallet manufacturer or a single organization. But yeah, it's, if you're sharing your email address with any company, you should just assume that email address is compromised.
Whoa. Did everyone lose sound?
Nope.
Okay. I thought I lost.
Oh.
My bad. I just want to point out, this is not the biggest problem is that these email addresses are more valuable than my email address being stolen from Yahoo or whatever has happened in the past, because they know I own cryptocurrency this way, and they're going to be able to directly target people's cryptocurrency. So that's a very disturbing aspect. I think people are going to lose their people are going to get fooled. People do get fooled by this stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you, Adam, but like that's why I said the best thing that you can do for protecting your Bitcoin is use multi-signature. Because then if you get an email from Ledger and you click on a bad email and you enter your seed phrase on the internet, if you're using multi-signature, you can have an entire, like one of your seed phrases can be entirely compromised and your Bitcoin are still secure. This is really like why I've been harping on multi-sig a lot recently. But that's I think the number one thing you can do to protect yourself from accidentally compromising your Bitcoin is move to multi-signature. And then, to your other point, Adam, like, you host a Bitcoin YouTube show, so it's not exactly a secret that you're.
Yeah, with me personally, but I'm not falling for that. No. It's out there. People know that Adam Meister, but there's a lot of dudes out of there's a million. Supposedly they had 1 million customers. I didn't know Ledger even had that. I mean, Mr. Random dude in Alabama that has some now. They know he's got some. He's easy target. But you made. You expanded upon that multi-sig very nicely there. I get it. I definitely get it. That's the cure for such a thing. Neil, do you have thoughts on this?
Well, obviously, it was very sad to see. Sorry to all the Ledger users that had that. I think there's a couple of lessons to learn from it. One, that if you are a Bitcoiner, as a user, you should be taking measures to reduce your risk. So, for example, if you're ordering a hardware wallet, find a way to try not use your own home address, and then be extremely stringent with your email usage. And like Phil says, use some multi-sig. Sounds good. And then if you're a company, you need to treat your user data as toxic sludge. You need to chuck it out as soon as possible. I think a lot of them are required by law and regulations to hold some of this for a certain period of time. But once that time expires, if you're a Bitcoin company, at least, you should probably be dumping that. And I think that kind of plays into another point, which is I'm kind of sympathetic to these companies holding on to this information. At Blockstream, we're super anal about user data and self-hosting everything. It gets in the way of doing business. It becomes very difficult as a startup, as a business, to kind of grow fast and provide good experiences to customers, because you only have limited resources, limited teams. Yeah, I do have sympathy for their situation. And a lot of users probably would, even if they were given the choice, they would choose the convenience and the nice user experience over this extreme security. It's well, which one do we provide? It's sad to see, but I think if you're a savvy Bitcoin user that cares about this kind of stuff, there are ways of making sure that you avoid them happening. That said, if it's already happened to you, taking measures later is absolutely no use. So for example, all of us probably should have remained anonymous rather than becoming prominent in the industry. But you can't turn back time. It's happened now, and it's all in the public sphere.
I love your point about using a fake email address when you're ordering I mean, not a fake email. People out there, there's all sorts of people for all sorts of reasons have email addresses that they're they're fakies or whatever that they use for whatever. You should use that when you're ordering your hardware wallet, because then you'll know that if it gets stolen, if you start getting weird stuff, you'll know something was up. So that's
another good thing about this is that Ledger actually disclosed it, which is you've just lost 1 million users, personal details, addresses, and everything. That's going to be a hard decision to make. There's probably a lot of Bitcoin companies out there, exchanges with tons of KYC data, other hardware wallet manufacturers, all sorts of other Bitcoin companies where they have been breached. And either one, they didn't know, they didn't have any measures in place to find out, and two, where they found out and then just didn't inform anybody. So good. It's terrible that Ledger didn't protect the data properly, but it's good that they disclosed it.
All right, Alex, do you have thoughts on this data breach?
Not really. I mean, just to echo what the guys said. It's hard running a company at the best of times, and I think the default is breaches and stuff are going to happen. Companies will do their best to avoid it. No business wants to get hacked and lose all their customers' details unless they're Coinbase and they just want to give up their customers' details to the NSA anyway. But if you're a business, the last thing you want to do is compromise your customers, and so then the onus is more so on the customers, particularly when you're dealing with something sensitive like Bitcoin. You just want to be smarter about how you do it. Send it to a PO box, use a different email address, etc. And they're just warnings for how to behave when you're dealing with sensitive information. I mean, you said it at the beginning of the show, personal responsibility is the new counterculture, and that's sort of what Bitcoin brings. So there's a bit of responsibility required on behalf of the people, buying this stuff, not just blanket blaming everybody else for losing their details. It's like, all right, well, what role did you have to play in that? And then also just, yeah, so there's no clean answer to this. It's unfortunate, but yeah, I think we as individuals just need to be smarter about how we approach these things.
All right, now we're talking about how businesses run themselves. It's difficult being a business, obviously, especially today. There seems to be more and more government regulations, but there's a certain type of business that isn't doing too well, and I think it just makes things so complex when you could just buy Bitcoin. But there's a company, Tetris Capital, managed upward of $33 million at one point. They were a crypto hedge fund for more than 60 investors who pitched in at least $100,000 a piece, and now they've gone down the drain. They're not the only crypto hedge fund that's gone down the drain in the last year or so. Alex, what are your thoughts on that?
Did someone else get wrecked?
Basically, a bunch of people thought it was a good idea to give their money to someone that said they could diversify for the sake of diversification, and lo and behold, it totally fails. And imagine if they would have spent $100,000 a piece on Bitcoin. I mean, that's
I'm totally and utterly shocked. This is like extraordinary. How could this happen? I mean, it just echoes exactly what I said earlier about the whole crypto thing, right? It's like people chasing yield, exchanging. You've got the opportunity of a lifetime to buy the hardest money on the planet before 99% of the people on the planet realize what the hell it is, and here you are trying to be a gambling moron chasing yield and giving your money to some other idiot who thinks he's smarter than economic Darwinism on a broad scale. It's like, how dumb can you be? Like, I'm actually glad they lost all their money, and I'm glad all the investors lost their money. And yeah, I'm just, that makes me feel good. So that's my position.
Pound that like button for crypto hedge funds. They're going down the toilet. Neil, your thought on crypto hedge funds?
I think they've all been if they can survive till next alt season, then they'll probably do all right, I guess, for a few more years. But I think long term, a lot of investors are going to be upset that they didn't keep up with Bitcoin.
All right.
Yeah, those hedge fund managers, they all do my head in. Like, I'm not every single one of them is extremely annoying, especially on social media. Not a huge fan.
All right. Phil, crypto hedge funds, thoughts?
I think one of my favorite graphs of the last, the time I've spent in Bitcoin is when Coinbase had their like crypto portfolio item that you could buy.
Yes.
And they were advertising, it was, first of all, it was 75% Bitcoin and then like a collection of other altcoins. And then they're like, look, we performed 80% as well as Bitcoin. I think I retweeted that article and just said, if these investors or if this company had just put a third of their money into Bitcoin and then invested the other 2/3 in Bitcoin companies that all went to zero, they would still be around. Crypto hedge funds are insane. They make no sense, and it's just clear that they don't understand what's happening. If you have a crypto hedge fund, I don't think you understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Wow. Very good. Good point.
Gamblers.
Hey, it was the Coinbase bundle, I think it was called. I don't know why they got rid of it. I mean, I was surprised they got rid of it because, I mean, they're selling like 6-tier altcoins now. So like a bundle, I don't know. Maybe they just weren't selling it or something. And
I think they just listed DAD, and if you're listening to this, DAD, I'm glad that you're now part of the Coinbase team.
Oh man. Well, okay. So continuing about talking about companies, let's talk about companies going public real quick in the space. Barry Silbert had a tweet where he predicts that there will be publicly traded crypto companies by the end of 2020. That he's hearing a lot on the street about this, and maybe it's Coinbase. Do you think that's good for the space, Phil? And do you think that's actually going to happen? Publicly traded crypto companies by the end of 2020.
We already have a publicly traded Bitcoin company, Cash App, Square.
Okay, but it's part of a bigger.
Oh, like publicly traded like crypto companies. Yeah, probably. I mean, we had a Long Island Iced Tea blockchain and Riot blockchain. You know, we have a bunch of.
If Coinbase goes public, is that good for the Bitcoin space?
Everything's good for Bitcoin.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neil, your take on public? Are we getting publicly traded crypto companies soon?
I don't have much of an opinion on this one. It wouldn't surprise me. Like, the markets are going pretty crazy, so why not try and get a piece of that?
Exactly.
Bitcoin, I think, has pretty positive press at the moment. It's not negative, at least. So yeah, I could see it. I could see it happening. I don't think it's going to be particularly good either. I think any of the companies that could go public are not particular. I guess BitMEX is a strong enough Bitcoin company, but whether they'd even want to go public is another question. But I can't, like, a lot of the big companies in the space, like Coinbase, very questionable. So yeah,
reasonable assessment of the situation there. Alex, do you even care, Alex, about crypto companies going public?
I have one comment. Brian Armstrong is jealous that Charlie Lee dumped his Litecoin on everyone, so now he's going to dump his Coinbase stock on everyone. So I predict they will go public.
Oh, wow. That was a good one, man. Pound that like button. All right, dudes, we're getting toward the end here. We got to hear a Liquid Network update from Neil over at Blockstream. What's the latest?
Latest announcement, we had 8 new members join the Liquid Federation. So that's taken us to 53 companies in the Federation now. Highlights there were CoinShares. I don't think CoinShares has a very big profile with like just regular Bitcoiners, but in the kind of institutional space, they're like a pretty big deal. They've been around for, previously they were known as Gabi, and they're like they produce a lot of Bitcoin trading products, ETPs, which are traded in Europe. So that's for kind of like regular institutional investors to go and like get exposure to Bitcoin without having to like buy a hardware wallet and hold the physical. So having them join is a big deal for us. Hopefully they'll be launching some integration soon that allows people to either move around some kind of tokens that like represent certain products or liquid Bitcoin itself. And then another good one in there was Satoshi's Games. So I think a lot of people probably saw that Satoshi's Games are using Liquid to do kind of in-game assets. I mean, depends whether you consider this shitcoining or not. In-game assets for Like Night, and you can basically trade them with friends. If you win a skin from like a battle or something, then you can like withdraw the token and then sell it to somebody on some kind of third-party market, and that person can integrate it, import it into the game, and then start using it. So they've joined as a member, which is good because they're a proper Bitcoin company. Yeah, and then there's a few others, but it's good to see the growth. We've got like 2,500 liquid Bitcoin on the network now. Yeah, so things are going well.
All right, good update there. All right, so Guy, and is there anything else you want to bring up before we close out the show there, Neil? Is there anything else you want to say about Blockstream, et cetera? The floor is yours.
I'm good. Thanks a lot for having me on the show. It's been good hanging out with Phil and Alex as well. I've connected with Phil before, but not Alex. So always good making connections through your show.
Pleasure, man.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's move on to Alex here. Do you have any closing thoughts? Any update about your business?
I mean, we're still, battling the whole regulatory get out damn account sorted out so we can roll out in Europe. Got some exciting new stuff effective coming up, which I'll announce soon. But I think the only other thing is I kicked off a little channel called the Wake Up kind of podcast, and I've sort of been talking much broader than just Bitcoin. More like philosophy, ethics, morality, economics, and all that sort of stuff, and just hopefully trying to get some peripheral attention, and then that Bitcoin aligns with all of those topics anyway. So I've been putting that up on Anchor and YouTube, but other than that, just working, making things happen. So yeah. Whoop, did that come through?
Yeah, I got you, Alex. I think we've lost Adam. We've lost the host. Phil, do you have any final words?
All right, so I can talk a little bit about what's happening at Unchained since we're live. Well, we're pretty excited.
All right, guys, I gotta run because I got a call.
All right.
Peace.
See
ya, Neil. Really,
No. Hey,
I'm
guys.
hanging, right?
Hey, I'm here.
No,
I'm here.
Me
What
and
happened there?
Philistine.
I got knocked off. Are you guys there? You guys see me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. So Alex, he gave his closing remarks. Very good. Phil, your closing remarks now.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited at Unchained Capital. For those of you that are in the US and have heard about multi-sig but are just waiting to try it out, or are worried about taking that next step, we have a Vault Concierge package where a member of our Unchained Capital Vault team will actually coordinate with you hardware wallets. They will help you set up your multi-signature vault. They will teach you how multi-signature works. And then when that's all done, we'll deposit $1,000 of Bitcoin into your new multi-signature vault. So if you're thinking about making another Bitcoin purchase and want to try out multi-sig, really upgrade your security, check out our Vault Concierge packages. I think it's a good way to really improve your security and learn a new skill in Bitcoin, which is multi-sig. And I think multi-sig is really the future if you want to protect your Bitcoin.
All right, very good, dudes. I don't know what my computer just shut down for a second there. I don't know what was up with that. That happens, but hey, dudes, great guest. I know Alex had to run. You all rock. Best guest in the freaking space. That is the end of the show. Everybody get your strong hands ready because Bitcoin is a pumping still, it appears. So don't be tempted. You're offended by selling. Thank you very much, guests. Remember, every Friday is This Week in Bitcoin on this very channel, and you get a new show here every single day. Saturday, we're on the backup channel. Subscribe to that. Pound that like button, bang that bell button. Shabbat shalom. As we say here, everybody have fun. I'm Adam Meister, BitcoinMeister, Disrupt Meister. See you tomorrow. See you next week. Thanks a lot, guys.